This is going to be the admins of the X2x2 support group talking about the things that we did not expect to deal with when we started the support group. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's just a kind of a mishmash of really interesting situations.
Some of which everybody already kind of knows, and some of which we actually, there's actually a lot that we can't even share. But
True. Yeah.
There's a lot of different things that go on that we don't really even talk about. And sometimes, every once in a while, one of us will be like, hey, remember when this happened? And the other two or three of us will be like, wait, oh, I forgot that even happened. And so a while ago, when those came up, I started writing them into a notepad file on my phone.
Yep.
And we thought it'd be kind of fun to just go through this list and talk about just random stuff that's happened that we didn't expect, and things that we never could have imagined happening to us or being involved, us being involved with prior to a couple years ago, especially prior to the but really since the podcast, or since the group started.
Yeah. I was just telling Mike too. I was like, I wish that I could like add stuff to this, but because I know that there's stuff that's not on there, but I just don't remember. There's just been way too much. I just don't remember it.
At some point.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll think of more stuff. And this is just stuff off the top of my head for a few different days. But I think the most obvious thing is, and kind of because this stuff is a little more negative anyway, is the Brewergate stuff. I thought we could just do that up front. Let's talk about like through after releasing the letter, which we've talked about a lot, kind of how our lives changed after that, and how much stuff happened that wasn't necessarily even directly involved with the group. Like, we didn't post about it or anything. It's just stuff that went on with us. So some of, like you mentioned, some of it we've talked about before, but I don't think any of us ever imagined talking to the FBI. We've talked about that before. Also, just how much media we've been involved with is very strange, to the point that, like, a while ago we were talking about how we actually turn down media now. The idea that too much news would contact us, that we would start turning things down and not being involved in things, is very weird.
But you missed part of the FBI call, which was that they had my cell phone number, and when he said, I want to talk to you and Abby, and I said, coincidentally, Abby happens to be here at my house, he was like, remember that?
He was like, yeah, I'm familiar with both of you. Like,
I was like, how do you know where they are right now? I mean,
I don't think he knew that, but like,
he just didn't seem surprised that you guys were visiting us.
Yeah, right. No. Definitely. Like, do you remember in 2023 when we were like, do you think there'll be media about this someday? Imagine if there's media about this someday. Like, that was like a recurring theme in 2023 of like, imagine if there's a documentary. Like, yeah, that'll ever happen.
Yeah. And then to get to the point that we're just tired of it, like, we're tired of talking to ABC News,
Genuinely media burnout. Yeah. It's one thing that I could never have anticipated, which is kind of this whole video, but like, this is one major thing, is the unrealized emotional investment in media. So we have given, I mean, we all have, but like Kari and I especially have given several, like quite a few, either like video calls or interviews that have just never come to anything. We've had like several media outlets starting projects, and then they just kind of like don't pan out. Or, we did spend a lot of time and work on the Hulu documentary. And then there have been at least,
we were their first point of contact for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then how many other like documentaries contacted?
Well, there's been probably three or four like potential projects, and only like one or two that actually happened.
Just learning that how media is, like, you can put survivors told stories for the Hulu documentary that never got in it.
Right.
Like, they sat for entire interviews.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the emotional investment in media that just usually doesn't become realized is a lot.
I interviewed with it's a new one on, is it Hulu? Yeah, Hulu.
It was a Hulu one, I think.
How to Escape Your Cult.
How I Escaped My Cult, was that one?
Yeah, How I Escaped My Cult. Yeah. That one came out, that started releasing episodes recently, but when the producer was like interviewing people for that, I talked to her, and I've said this on, I think I said it on our last live in our group, but I don't think it's on our YouTube, but like, she really wanted this vibe of like, but did you escape in the dark of night? Did you like physically have to hide and sneak away? And
Yeah, she wanted to chase cameras.
I was like, I mean, the story is dramatic enough without you having to elaborate it. So it just didn't feel, it felt a little exploitative.
That
Yeah.
show is
Well,
awesome.
I think that's
I haven't watched it,
Yeah, I
but I
don't
know
wanna
I
watch
saw
it
that
either.
it's on Hulu.
yeah, I think that's maybe the problem with all of this media that has like not
Mhm.
been realized is that when people want to watch something about cults, they want to watch something really sensationalized. They want to see somebody escape physically. They want to like even ones that have gone forward and are going forward, they want more action. And I'm like, well, this is not a lot of physical action. First of all, what we are doing is not a lot of physical action. We are heavy on the communication and using computers to do all of this. Like none of this is happening in a way
Yeah.
that's really exciting for TV, and that's the problem.
If you wanted to accurately dramatize this, it would just be like people crying in a therapist office.
Yeah. Us
Yeah.
crying into our keyboards.
We don't have like, unlike a lot of cults, we don't have brochures, we don't have pamphlets of like our leader's doctrine, we don't have recordings of sermons, well, not from when we were in,
Not many.
like to share with media, like
Yeah.
Yep.
I've been watching the Andrea Yates documentary on HBO Max, and so many people have like letters from their leaders and just like all these brochures that they were printing, and he recorded everything he thought and put it on cassette tapes and mailed it out to them. So they have so much, even though it's not footage, they have like audio and pamphlets and stuff to include. So they have his whole doctrine like laid out. It gives a good story, and we just don't have anything like that.
Yeah, we have some audio now, but it's like video is extremely hard to come by. And then yeah, what we're doing now is not exciting. So I think media is like, well, I can't make money on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's like nobody knows who the 2x2s are, so there is no groundwork there. So they're going to skip to an exciting part because they got to sell it somehow.
Yeah.
And,
Not necessarily more.
well, not anymore, but at the time when we're talking,
Yeah,
2-3 years
for
ago.
sure.
So I think that like along that line, I had this way later in the list, but something that I think is on a personal level, learning how to talk about this stuff, like learning how to talk about trauma and the mental health implications and SA in general, like learning how to talk about that and message it and become trauma informed as well as somewhat media literate and understanding media and their incentives has been a project, I think, for all four of us.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I hope I've gotten better at it because honestly, I didn't have the vocabulary 3 years ago to handle what's gone on the last few years. So, and then and it feels like a lot of responsibility to I know a lot of people feel this way, like when media or somebody comes at you with something and they want to do something with it, it's like, how do I package this in a way that's respectful to the process itself? And we've had, I think, like we were saying, we've all had invites to stuff that we just turned down because it's like I don't really trust them with the story.
Yep.
Yeah.
The reasons Kari and I have done the podcast we've done is because we've listened to 100 hours of the podcast themselves in some cases to understand the angle that they have and are they respectful to survivors of things and cult survivors, stuff like that.
There's that local case here where the local news, I think it was ABC or NBC or something, had set up an interview to come to our house. They were going to set everything up in the living room and interview me, and I was like, I actually don't know enough about this case, and I'm friends with a family member, and just like didn't feel, I ended up canceling it kind of last minute because I decided I didn't feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
Being
I'm gonna talk this time. Yeah.
Are you really?
Yes, I am. So Kyle, mentioned a good point, I think, about being like respectful of the process, and like it's been something that I've been kind of stressed about, through this whole thing, is making sure that I am respectful of like our community at large and like just everything that everybody's going through. And I think like there's a part of me that always is like, like even doing YouTube videos like this, like, being nervous about being misunderstood or something, or just, I could just make a slip of the tongue that just comes off as like being really kind of rude or something. And so there's definitely, I think some people just assume that we're just out here blasting everything out for the world to hear. And, maybe it doesn't look like it, but we're trying to craft this in a way that is respectful across to everybody.
Yeah. As somebody who usually walks over the line and then looks back and sees where it was, that's definitely been like a challenge for me, because we've all been going through this just like anybody else. Like, we are not professional support group facilitators. We just started this like, hey, it'd be cool to have some buddies who know what we're going through. And then this hits, and suddenly we are like crisis, like triage takers. Like we're taking stories, we're learning how to be trauma informed at the same rate as everybody else who hasn't been like heavily in this space before, as we go. And we're also going through it ourselves. And that mix definitely is not easy. And sometimes I feel like we're kind of expected to always be the perfectly, like always have the perfect neutral, diplomatic take on everything. And we're actually humans and survivors, and like sometimes we're not going to say the right thing either, but that's really stressful because we've talked over the past few years, we've talked about our hats. Like we have this hat, and then I had my voices hat, and then we have the 2x2 Church Updates page hat, and then we have the admin hat, and then I have a survivor hat, and then like you have to like be super conscious of how you're saying things and what you're saying in each and every space, and that's challenging for somebody who doesn't see the line until they're over it.
Yeah, and part of the problem too is that because the 2x2s aren't a formal church, don't have a communications department, don't have HR, they don't have any sort of structure at all. They have no idea how to handle anything, and the next group anyone asks is us because we're out there. And so, we get contacted fairly, not as much anymore, but we got contacted very frequently. But not only that, not just by the outside people, by the inside people. We still, to this day, probably this week, get contacted by professing people to get the best information about anything. Doesn't matter what, anything from lists to what's going on with this guy to whatever. And I had on my list here that at the time, especially when things were going, really hot for a while, and you guys are posting publicly, Kari was getting messaged by professing people, like
Workers.
by workers sometimes trying to correct information that was getting posted. And it's like, you go get the information. It's your information. We're posting the same thing.
And I wasn't posting incorrect information either. No. I was posting mostly emails that they were putting out, and they were getting mad about it.
But they didn't like the messaging and the framing of it. So
and that they were getting it from us instead of their own overseers.
Right. And so like Mike, you were saying how important it is to get the message, like the tone of the message right, and the implications to understand how it's going to be received. It's also being received by a world that's just now learning about us, and the 2x2s who don't want this stuff out there. It's like all these different versions of people listening, and they all have input on it, and that's kind of a chaotic place to be. It's chaotic, I think, for all of us. I think. Well, let me put it this way. I'm going to tell on Kari again. When the letter first dropped and people got all of their information from us, there's a before and after to that moment for us, because before I never talked publicly about being out of meetings ever. Yeah. I didn't vlog anything. I didn't post anything publicly, and we went overnight from being kind of our own little thing off to the side that most people didn't know about to the people who were talking about it and the people who were being contacted. And I remember you saying how nervous you were when you first realized people were generally tying your name to this. Mm-hmm. And so that's been a big shift for us too, from basically anonymous.
Someone messaged me and said, your name is going around everywhere as having something to do with this. And I remember like, oh, like that was a weird, and now it's like, and now I have overseers spying on my Facebook stories, and I'm just laughing about it.
Well, and I don't think that people realize now, who have maybe left later on in this, like left a year or so, maybe 2 after it happened, all of that. I don't think they realize, like a lot of them don't know who we are anymore because things have like diversified in a certain way. There's lots of different, but like at the beginning, that it was like, we jumped into a spot we did not anticipate jumping into, for sure. Mm-hmm. And I remember for a long time we were like, hey, do you think our families know we run this group? Do you think it's come up in like their suggested stuff before? Do you think like, because only the admins would show up as under like what you could see publicly of the group, it would say who the admins are. I'm like, do you think they know about it? And then there was a certain point where like, they have to know about it, right? Like, but nobody ever like brought it up.
Yeah.
Our family brought it up with each other. Remember that?
Yeah. It's come up in lots of different ways.
Like now we know that, yes, they do. They are very aware of it.
But... Well, and to the point that when I thought I was kind of anonymously starting my own side project, the Cowtipper Vern YouTube, I think I was about an episode or 2 in when a family member messaged me and they're like, hey, is this you? I was like, how in the world did you? Yeah, Professor One. I was like, how in the world did you even find that? I just threw that on YouTube. So but people just find stuff. People just, share stuff around.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, visibility has been a big shocker for us all, I think.
And I think that could only have happened through this type of a crisis scenario for me, because like, I didn't feel the need to like disrupt family systems by saying anything before this. And then all of a sudden it was like, well, this needs to be done. And yeah, this might happen. And this has to be done. And it got us over that hump of like being afraid to say something. And yet we are still careful about what we say. We're still nervous about what we say.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
He just told, I don't know if you want to put this in there, but he just did a story swap the other night at our like local indie theater. You like put your name in the hat, and if they call you, you tell your story.
Nice.
And there's a theme. The theme was, what were you thinking? Or what was I thinking? Anyway, he told the story about when he broke up with me and then went snowboarding and hit his head. And then that whole story. It's very funny. And
they're like looking at like,
I think I do, but I don't know your version of it. So
yeah, I mean, basically,
I'll just send them the video.
You'll send them a video.
Yeah.
Maybe it's actually, the story is on our TikTok, but you have to scroll like for ages to get to it.
Yeah, no, I'll just send you the video. But like, I was like, oh, I should post this. And he's like, yeah, I think that's fine. He's like, well, I did call it a cult, but that's probably okay. Oh, well, but anyway, yeah, we're still careful about stuff. There was something.
We're like the most niche celebrities ever.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I have to tell.
In your tiny circle, everybody knows who we are.
Well, and it's so funny because we were waiting for this to like jump out of our tiny circle, and then I had that experience at circus. So Elliot does circus class. I actually just started circus class too, but her teacher was like, they were going around the circle. It was after Christmas or before Christmas, and they were like, "Is anybody visiting for the holidays?" And Elliot was like, "Oh, and my uncle's coming. He lives in Alaska. He lives on a boat. Well, he was homeless for a long time before that." And she was like, "Well, he was a worker." And the coach was like, "So did he like work on the boat or something?" And I'm like, "Okay, let me just explain this really quick. Just really quick. He was in a kind of a high control type of religion known as the 2x2s. He was like their ministry is homeless, and so that's technically, they live in other people's homes." And I was like, if you want to know more, you can just Google 2x2s. And she's like, wait, one of my favorite podcasts, like my number 2 podcast for the year, one of the hosts was in that. And I was like, you're not going to believe this, but we were just on there. She's like, wait, were you on there with like a male voice? And I was like, yeah, that was my husband. She's like, oh my gosh, I just listened to you guys. And I was like, I'm going to message Megan and tell her about it. And she's like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm like in a brush with a celebrity. I was like, oh my gosh. But that was the first time it really popped out of our little circle, was like, hey, this random instructor that instructs my kids' circus class, like how many more people are around us that actually maybe we would have that experience with if it came up? I have no idea. It's very bizarre.
On the line of the post-Brewergate chaos, I don't know if we've talked on this channel about the Facebook glitch. Have we talked about that?
No, I don't think we have, but we definitely
mentioned it, I think, on the live, didn't we?
I feel like we talked about it here and there, but briefly, Facebook had a glitch at one point when everything was crazy and all of the information was essentially coming through us. And a few other people that had started doing it as well. And Facebook had a glitch where anybody who viewed your profile, it would automatically send a friend request. And this glitch lasted, less than a day, I think?
Yeah.
But Abby and Kari woke up to tons of friend requests, like hundreds maybe?
Yeah.
A lot of professing people, because those people had come to their profiles looking for stuff.
It was like 400 between the two of us. It was
crazy.
Including workers. At least one worker.
I remember we were talking in the chat and I was like, why do I have so many friend requests? Wait, this worker's in here. Wait, what is happening? And Abby's like, me too. And both of us were like, was there some crazy news that we missed? Because like most of the news was coming through us at that point. And we're like, what is going on in the 2x2s that is happening that we haven't heard about yet? How, like, what?
Yeah.
And then we checked the actual news, and it's like all over the news that Facebook had this glitch, and it could not have been more perfect timing.
Nope. Excellent. It just, the most perfect timing.
And that was a kind of a sort of just a behind the scenes thing that just happened really quickly, but it was just so funny to watch how many people were just kind of stalking us online.
It was a perfect little, like, it's like the Facebook gods were like, hey, I know you want to see who's visiting your profile. Here's a sneak peek.
Yeah. And so along the line of the people checking our profile, I wanted to do a quick primer, because I don't think we've talked about it on this channel, about Archiegate. And part of the reason I want to talk about it is because I saw somebody else's, another X2x2 channel recently, talk about Archiegate and just get all of it wrong.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I wanted to give our version of it really quickly. Do you want to talk about it, since it was kind of your...
Well, I actually brought it to the group, to the chat.
Brought to us by another
I think it
person
was somebody
in the X2x2 community.
I remember who it was. I think it was.
I don't want to say her name,
I won't. But Yeah, somebody let me know. I don't know how they found out. Maybe they just looked at it. Maybe somebody told them. Who knows? It's like when you have like this spicy news, it's like it travels through little channels and then somebody throws it to us because they know we'll post it. And like, so yeah, they were like, oh my gosh, Scott Rauscher, overseer of Montana, Wyoming, didn't lock down any of his stuff on his Facebook page. All his likes and his groups are public. His likes, his follows, the pages he follows, they're all public, and it's real bad. So then yeah, it was real bad, and there were far worse than the Archie page. Like there was, he has that thing for volleyball shorts. It was volleyball shorts, butts in volleyball shorts, and it did include pictures of minors. I don't believe he knew that, but there was from the newspaper of some girls in volleyball shorts that was very revealing.
Yeah.
And
so we were just like, we saw this and we're just like blown away. And then
Kari took a screen grab.
Landing pages for OnlyFans on there, remember? And then, I mean, the funniest thing was
nothing
the
illegal,
Archie,
though. Yeah, nothing illegal, by the way.
No, nothing that he knew was illegal. Like
there was this page. I feel like we need to talk about the Archie page because there's this page where
I can't believe it exists.
Whoever ran this page took Archie comic pictures and created softcore porn out of them. So like,
can we put a couple overlays on there?
Yeah, well, I can overlay a couple of them.
One I remember is like Betty sitting on a table with a cream pie, and there were jokes about, take it from there with your imagination. It was too good to be true. Like it's still surreal to this day.
Still makes me laugh out loud, and that happened like 2 years ago.
Because following an Archie comic softcore porn page, like I cannot tell you for most 2x2s, at least in the US, how Archie was such a huge part of our childhood. Like
it's a joke in the X community.
It was like one of the only things that was not PG rated, possibly. At least we didn't consider it to be because the girls were in bikinis and like and dating people at one time, and we were allowed to read them, and everybody had tons of like literally a couple of years ago, I helped my mom sell her Archie comics, and she had a box of like 300 of them.
Yeah, before we went on like a road trip as a special treat, I would get a new Archie comic.
Yeah.
Which is so weird because it totally goes against the values of like a lot of the family values of the 2x2s. But somehow they were like official approved 2x2 reading, I guess, because stacks of them.
So I went on Scott Rauscher's Facebook page and just took a video screen grab of scrolling through all his likes and follows, and I'd click on a page every once in a while. I didn't say anything. I just would click on a page, scroll through some of the content, go back, look at more of his likes and follows. It was like a 2-minute video, posted it publicly, and it took off. Like I know CCF was sharing it. Oh, I think did I have a YouTube link up as well at some point?
We might have, maybe.
But it was public anyway. And and
it's shared well.
It went all over the place, and it was that same week, wasn't it? That was it Daryl who sent out an email, or one of the overseers sent out an email?
It was quick. Yeah.
About what?
Well, what? Yeah. What?
That the overseers were. Yeah. How did we hear that the overseers were on a plane?
It was a letter.
I went back and looked because I remember it being immediate, but it wasn't. It was like a week to 2 weeks that we found out that multiple overseers and kind of their immediate henchmen were flying over to deal with this to go talk to. I don't remember how they said it. A lot of euphemism around like, we're just going to go chat.
The thing with Scott Rauscher was he didn't have allegations exactly, but he had a lot of really nasty behavior towards survivors, and I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But
enabling of abusers.
Here's an example. This I had this up in a tab because I wanted to read it.
Yeah.
Just a few months before this happened, Scott and some of the other like leadership from that area sent out an email
in November of 2023.
And part of it says, "From today, we will not accept any complaints about the past. If there's anything illegal or criminal in any way, we are asking you to take it to the police. We will only deal with the present and the future."
And he also sent out that thing about silence.
Yeah.
About how silence was. Yeah, it was a whole thing. So he had re-victimized people. He had supported abusers. He had given abusers the contact information of the victims to go like make amends. Like he was awful to people. And while he was awful to people, the other leadership in other areas were like, yeah, that sucks. I can't do anything about it.
So we are clear, we're not porn shaming, but
No.
we were speaking the language of the 2x2s when we released this video because we know how they would view it. And it actually made them take action, and he was removed from his place as overseer, or he resigned, or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah, and the rumor that I think has gone around a little bit and has actually showed up in some content is that some sister workers had a problem with it, and they somehow got him excommunicated or kicked out or something.
We've never heard
that. We've never heard that. I think I'm sure a lot of them did have a problem with it. We actually heard the opposite. I heard at least one sister worker kind of defending him. Yeah,
he put that in an email that the sister workers.
So
he's got that one too.
I have that email pulled up.
We have receipts, people.
We got receipts. We always have receipts.
the best part. I'm just gonna read this really quick. You need to know that my Facebook account was not hacked, but that I opened messages that came to my account that were of a pornographic nature, sometimes referred to as soft porn. I do not know who they came from or why they showed up on my account, but, quote, I did open and followed them at times.
That is in quotes. That is typed in quotes.
And then it gets better. The Bozeman sisters encouraged me to go to the police in order to obtain some proof that I had been hacked. I did not go to the police, knowing that it was my own fault.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
So
crazy.
They were like, you need to go clear your name. And
they didn't even ask him if it was real. They just went, this isn't real, so you have to go. And he's like, well, nah, I hate to tell you this. But like one of the wild things in dealing with that was helping people to understand the nuance and understand the sides of the issue, because people would be like, well, especially as people are leaving and deconstructing things, they'd be like, well, aren't adults, is this illegal? Like, shouldn't we leave being adults to themselves? Like, why should we punish him for things that the church was like, this is immoral, but actually he has the right to do? Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like a lot of people condemned releasing that for that reason. And it was interesting trying to get them to understand that we actually think he should be able to do what he wants. If he wants to look at full Archie porn, I couldn't care less. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But like, the point is that all of the other leaders were like, sorry, he's abusing people. He's hurting people. He's re-victimizing and enabling. Like, oh man, I wish I could do something, but I can't because I'm not in control of that region, and he answers to God. And then as soon as he does something like this, they're on airplanes.
Yep.
Like, that was the point that was important to make, was like showing the priorities, showing what actually mattered. Mm-hmm. And it made the point really clearly, but some people missed it because they're like, wait, aren't we supposed to be okay with, adults doing adult things? Like, we are. We actually are.
No one said we weren't. No one said that we weren't okay with that.
I put that video up with
that's a cultural thing. Yeah, the video went up with no comment at all. All of the action was taken, all of the messaging around it was taken by the 2x2s themselves. And you couldn't have designed a better experiment to offset what was happening at the exact same time, which is them saying they couldn't do anything about sexual assault and enabling and trafficking people around. I can't think of a better word. Moving people around to protect them from from anything having to do with what they've done. But all of a sudden cartoons come up that are the wrong kind of cartoons, and they quite literally jumped on planes and flew across the country to deal with it. You couldn't have designed it better than that. There's no way.
Well, and here's the other thing, is the hypocrisy of growing up listening to leadership preaching about, don't you dare have sex before marriage, don't you dare be gay, don't you dare do this or do that in your bedroom, including probably watching porn would definitely be a
absolutely
for sure. Yeah.
And then you have an overseer with following explicit pages. It's the hypocrisy that we were pointing out. Yep. These are the people who ruled and controlled our lives and told us what we could and could not do with our sexuality. And then he's on his own free time doing that. It's like, dude, you can't, there's some incongruence here. You can't do that.
Yeah. So I just wanted to put our version of that out somewhere, because I hear that there's been some creep in that story a little bit. Pardon the word.
We're gonna we're not gonna get through our stuff if we dive into all the fun stuff this hard, but
we've got time.
Yeah, but that was a fun one. But I think that just on that topic a little bit, I thought that there's been a lot of negativity, and it's a negative situation. It's a dark situation for what the group's going through right now. But on a personal note, a highlight for the last few years has been Kari and I going on Mormon Stories. The scandal is sort of what put us into, and the floor of our activity and stuff like that is what made us kind of publicly visible. But us going on Mormon Stories, if for anybody who hasn't seen that episode, which you don't have to watch it, it's like 5 hours long, the 2 episodes, but it was a highlight for us because when we were deconstructing in like 2020, that was a podcast that was really a big deal for us, and listening to tons of hours of that and discussing it.
There wasn't X2x2 content, so
there
we
wasn't
listened
any
to
at all.
ex-Mormon content.
I mean, there was a little bit, but yeah, not continuous. Like it wasn't a theme that you could find online. And so we listened to a lot of ex-Mormon stuff, specifically Mormon stories. And then for that to come full circle for us, that was really cool. So I just kind of noted that as like a personal cool thing that's happened the last few years.
Bucket list kind of.
Yeah, total bucket list. To be able to meet them in person was just awesome.
Yeah. On that same note, like the Trust Me podcast, I mean, you guys went on you thought things were dying down, but you went on when things were still like kind of in their peak.
Yeah.
And I think the thing to note about a lot of these podcasts is we didn't necessarily we weren't like campaigning to all these podcasts like, hey, have us on. There were a few that I think I had reached out to, or we reached out to,
or sent an email.
But for the most part, most of them were like, even if we reached out to them in the end, like somebody else brought it to our attention, you know, people in the group or something.
Well, and that's to be fair, like to be clear, that is the case for all of the TV media as well.
Yeah.
Like we have not reached out and pursued and asked people to do things. We have not paid for anybody to try to highlight us, the crisis. They're like just to be.
No.
What?
Yeah.
We have not paid.
No, or been paid. No, not at all. So like that too, like it comes to us. And at this point we have to be like really picky and choosy about it. But it's not like we've been running down media.
No, in fact, because we had met one of the hosts of Trust Me before, Megan, we actually got invited on not long after the Brewer letter. And I forget how soon after, and we said, no, not yet. Like, it's not a good time. Let's let this kind of die down. It's not really good form for us. We didn't feel comfortable.
We didn't have time either.
We didn't have time. There's that. But it also felt like it felt kind of insensitive to go on and talk 2x2s at that time. And so we pushed it off to when we thought maybe it'll be over, which was like 2 months before the FBI called us. So
right.
It's like, little did we know it had barely started at that point. But anyway, I'm sure we could talk about that a lot. But
really quick though, I just do want to one of the craziest things that happened during all of this Brewergate stuff was similar to kind of along the vein of like workers reaching out to correct us about stuff, but this was not correction. I think there were multiple convention ground owners reaching out to us for information, which is
that was weird.
It is also weird because convention ground owners are up there on the hierarchy, and
we didn't know. These aren't people who reached out to us as friends.
Right.
Well, I mean, I did. In
some cases,
in
one case,
at least in one case, I did know them previously.
But the one that you're going to talk about, Kari, was not.
About which
you
one?
had written that down. You can tell it if you want.
Yeah. Well, I think that the theme of this list was things we couldn't have imagined happening before, and in this case, I'll just be vague about it. But but one of the conventions that no longer holds a convention right now wrote a letter to the workers and then sent it to Kari first and had Kari proof it. And she actually helped them rewrite the letter. So the letter,
there were multiple. There were like 4 or 5 letters they ended up releasing, and they wanted me to release them publicly.
Yeah, but you actually helped write it, which is something that's like, I thought we just mentioned that because that's something, there's no place to really put that. Nobody would really know that. But like, I think that was a weird place to be in, to have professing people, and we didn't know if they would leave meetings or not, but professing people reaching out to us in the X community saying, how can I word this? How can I talk about this in a way that people will listen? And you made some pretty substantive changes to the letter. I won't talk about what they are because it doesn't matter, but there was some messaging that you kind of helped them with, and you actually wrote a draft of the letter for them. So
well, and then in that conversation, them telling me things about how conventions are really run behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You know, in correlation with like what part the workers play exactly. And I'm sure it's different for every convention grounds, but like it was eye-opening, even as an X2x2, to learn like, oh, this is not all that we thought it was.
Yeah.
And
we really appreciate, like, I don't know, I've really appreciated when people like that, or like run things by us, like to double check things, not because I feel like I know everything, but like we have a lot of information coming through us. And for people to say, oh, the sister workers made Scott quit, is kind of devastating to that story publicly. Like you have to be careful about those details because you're giving credit where it doesn't belong, and you're taking credit from where it belongs. And inaccuracy is what's going to tank. Like that's actually been a high level of a thing that's caused a lot of anxiety throughout the last 3 years, is things need to be, we have felt a responsibility to make sure that things are accurate, and in what we put out, and also in like any media we have contact with, and anywhere we can, we're trying to make sure things are accurate, because the moment that they're not is the moment that everybody gets discredited. And so there's some people that love to just like flop information here and there, and they don't check it, and they don't care about what they're talking about, and because it doesn't matter that much to them whether their numbers are off or not, but like it matters.
The 2x2s look for any reason to invalidate the X community and survivors.
Yeah, and it's not just the fact, it is the facts of the case, of course, that's the main thing, but also including the relevant facts. If you imply that sister workers were able to go regulate an overseer, you're just wrong. That doesn't happen. And it's really important to understanding 2x2 culture to understand why that wouldn't be the case. You know, just some people, in an effort to get a story out or an effort to build a story. And I'm not implying that that these stories are getting mixed up on purpose.
No,
I don't think so. I think people are just trying to tell what they know.
Not being corrected on purpose.
But I think, exactly. I think that people not correcting the story, sometimes there's an agenda behind that. And I think it's important for people to understand the power dynamics within the 2x2 church that are still there. Mm-hmm. The people who are trapped there are still trapped there. The people who are in the ministry because they have nothing else and can't go anywhere else and have no say and no one listens to them, even when they bring forth abuse, that's still happening. So that's part of why it's important to get this right. Obviously, it's important to get it right just to be correct, but also the dynamics of the stories themselves are important too. So anyway,
that's a good point.
I thought it was kind of, so we've talked a lot about podcasts and stuff. I thought it was interesting. I don't know how many people saw what you did, but can you imagine getting involved in international politics the way you have?
Okay. Yeah, that's a fun story. So
we've had several fun things pop up from our TikTok channel.
Yeah. What was that? That was in 2025? I guess it must have been 2025 because that's about when we did it.
I think it was early 2025.
And there was a news article came out saying that Hamish Campbell, who is a member of Parliament in New Zealand, was a member of the 2x2 church, and he got kind of confronted on the street by a reporter and was really wishy-washy about whether he was or was not, even though we had information that said that he definitely was. I don't know if he is now.
He said that he was connected through his family and he was actually a freaking elder. That's not the same thing.
So we put together a TikTok about it, and that TikTok, I just checked. I mean, initially it was just going crazy.
In our version of going crazy.
Like when you make TikToks that get like a few hundred or maybe 1,000 views, 165,000 is a lot of views. And so it was making the rounds in New Zealand, and
people were really pissed in the comments.
The BH, and then the
like, you must be paid for by the such and such party, and we're like, dude, we don't even know what party that is. We live in politics.
We're not even in your quadrant of Earth.
Yeah, it's super confusing over there because like the Liberal Party is actually the Conservative Party, and Anyway,
we're the ones who are backwards on this. But anyway.
That's correct.
Yeah. So a podcast called BHN over there in New Zealand like saw it on TikTok and reached out to us, and like by that afternoon we were recording a podcast episode with them, just talking about the 2x2s and a little bit about the situation, but we didn't really know that
but
much
also
about
like why it mattered, clearing up, being very clear about the information. No, Hamish doesn't have any allegations that we're aware of, and no, this doesn't mean that he this, but it matters that he wasn't honest because this, and it matters just clearing all that up. But like that was wild.
Once again, it's like 2x2s not having any sort of formal communication. When people start looking for information, they don't know where to go. And literally a country on the other side of the planet contacts you guys and are like, hey, can you tell us what this even is?
No kidding. That's actually pretty fascinating, is that of all places, New Zealand has had by a huge margin the largest amount of media put out.
And some of the best reporting. They've done a good job.
Yeah.
That wasn't something I would have predicted, just based on like size, honestly. Like they've really outdone themselves.
So we've talked a lot about like the media we've done. I thought we've both been invited to projects that not just random news projects or documentaries, but just weird oddball stuff. We talked about this on the last video we did in our group, but I was thinking of talking about the weird proposals that we've had. You guys got invited on to some sort of like dating show or something?
It was through our TikTok, they wanted us to audition for a reality show that was for people who are in high control religious environments or who had grown up in them and had also like not as a result, not had like that many romantic partners. So like, people who had, got
Naive
married to the
couples.
person that they had first had sex with or something. And obviously they saw our TikTok and were like, those are the people for us. And so yeah, we looked into it and we're like, no, because basically the premise of the show seemed to be
It was like a couple swap.
like couple swapping, like seeing if you could get these like really sheltered people to cheat on their spouses, essentially.
Like see if your relationship could last a couple swap situation, pretty much.
Oh, that's so
We were
wild.
like, well, this sounds like we've mentioned it, and at least one of our kids was like, that's horrible. Why would they do that? That is just like, that's not okay.
I remember when you
The
guys
shows are
first
everywhere.
told us about that you had that invite or whatever. One of you guys was like, it seriously sounds like the point of the show is to try to break the couples up or something.
Yeah,
It does, because if they don't, then where's the drama for it?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
We got invited onto a show too, or we got invited to apply to something, and I don't think we did. I don't remember what it was even. It was some kind of reality show or something. You remember that?
No.
Somebody sent us an email.
This
from
is
a
what I
booking
mean,
agent.
though. Like, we've had so
Yeah.
much crazy
Yeah.
stuff happening. I'm like, wait,
This
what?
crazy, like,
What
just
does this
imagine telling us 10 years ago that we would get sent booking information for some booking agent is going to invite us to apply for a reality show.
For
It's so
what?
funny.
What was it?
I don't know. I don't remember what it was because it was through the agency. It wasn't through the show, so we didn't see what the show was. We didn't do it. But and then you had that one about the escaping in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I already told that.
Yeah, you talked about that already. I thought I had one other one.
Yeah, we had somebody reach out to us who was writing a TV show about cults or high controlled religion or something, and they wanted us to like consult on it a little bit.
Like creative consultants or like factual to kind of have the perspective of like,
I don't remember
what I interpret it would be like, no, it's not quite like that. With, like the experience is a little bit more like that, or the control might be a little bit more in this way, but to like, give them pointers on what the experience is actually like so that they can make it realistic, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that what you got from it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like one thing that we have sort of like in talking to a lot of these producers hopefully helped educate some of them on is that there's this like stereotype about cults that is escaping in the dark of night and like that they're gonna come after you and dig through your trash and bug your phones and all this stuff. And it's like I feel like something that we've tried to drive home as a point is that there's a lot of emotional and mental manipulation and control that is equally as powerful as like not being able to physically escape, because it's hard to explain to someone who hasn't lived it that the fear of leaving, if you truly believe that your soul is in eternal danger, is really powerful. And like the idea of disappointing all of your family or your entire community not talking to you again, like all of that is like has a really powerful like hold over people. I don't think everyone understands like how manipulative that can be emotionally and mentally.
Well, just think about the psychology of it. Like your survival is tied to this group. Your eternal survival, but kind of also your physical, like temporary survival, because of all the things that we were taught. You might actually end up dying if you leave, like for one reason or another. God might take you. You might get in a car crash. You might get into like terrible debaucherous circumstances, and like you're not safe out there. You're safe in here, spiritually and physically, emotionally, whatever. So leaving is going against all of these survival instincts that have been put into you.
And I feel like I can only speak for myself, but as a woman raised in the 2x2s, I don't feel like I was given a lot of tools. So not only was I taught that the world was a dangerous, scary place, but like I felt like I didn't know how to do anything outside of the 2x2s. So that makes leaving even more scary and hard. And then add in if you're a worker on top of that, I'm sure that feeling is compounded for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and along the lines of talking about being public and having stories get out there and stuff, the next category I have is people.
Wait, we missed that. They're all named Lauren.
Oh, they're all named
all of the documentary producers.
We've had 4 separate producers named Lauren.
It will be like, I heard from Lauren this morning. We're like, which one?
Narrow down.
Hulu Lauren?
And it started out just like 2 Laurens, and that was easy enough to you could use one or the other, but then it was like 4 Laurens.
Literally, we've interviewed with like 4 Laurens.
Yeah. It's really
all
women, all female Laurens.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah, one of them, I remember we told her that the show just wasn't going to work, and she's like, "No, I think it will." And she had all these ideas for it. We're like, "I don't think that's a good angle," and we've never heard from her again. Yeah, Anyway, so along the lines of talking publicly and then having people reach out, there's been this fun sort of subgenre of communication we have, which is people reaching out when they all of a sudden realize what a 2x2 is. The first subcategory would be people who realize that's what they are. I know you guys have had people reach out through your TikTok,
especially
and stuff.
Young people, right?
Yeah, people reach out like, wait, am I in this? Like they hear about it and then they see, they don't know that term. I remember we fought back against that term a lot when I was younger, when secret sex kind of made its ride through our community. The workers, every week for a while, the workers talked about how we weren't 2x2s.
We're not a piece of wood.
It's basically, don't think about elephants, but it's 2x2s. And so I grew up knowing that term and knowing we didn't want to be called that. There's a lot of people that haven't heard that term. And so they'll come across some of our social media and then reach out like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I go to meetings. Is that us? Oh, that's us in the news. That's kind of a fun set of conversations.
And including minors in some cases for us. That has been something I didn't anticipate, was having kids tell me, I don't want to be here and I'm stuck. Like there's nothing. I finally found content because we were making TikTok content. Like I finally found content. This is what we are. And I really want to leave. And I'm 16, 15. And we kind of like have had to be like, yeah, that's hard. There's nothing that like physically that anyone will be able to offer you right now. I wish I could help. And, I can't, but I also try to reassure them. Like there's a thing about like acknowledging how hard this is and also kind of trying to help them feel like a little safer in where they are because they can't get out. Like your parents are doing the best that they can. They also are convinced that this is the best thing to do. They're not like vindictively trying to make your life hard. Right. There is another side to this. You will be on the other side of this where you get to make your own choices. Hang in there. That's something I didn't predict having to do.
Another subset of people finding out what the 2x2s are, which is ongoing to the point that this happened, yesterday or the day before, is people finding out that they are dating a 2x2.
Yeah. That was my next topic.
Yeah. That has been crazy. And it happens all the time. We get people requesting to join our group or people reaching out to us and messaging us. I had one last week. I had this big conversation with, it's like, okay, I heard about this in the news, or I saw this news article, or I came across this documentary, or something happened. And all of a sudden they're like, wait, this person that I'm in a relationship with, sometimes for years, has not ever brought them to a meeting or hasn't told them that they're professing or 2x2s, and then all of a sudden they're connecting all these dots and realizing,
and
I'm in a relationship with this person who's in this crazy religion. Like, what
is that? Theme of like, well, but I ask them about it and they get kind of angry and they don't want to talk about it.
They're really clammed up about it.
And I remember the first time this happened, I was like, wow, that's a crazy story. We can't really talk about it because we don't want to out anybody. This happens every once in a while. Fairly frequently.
The secrecy is wild.
At this point, it's double-digit occurrences now.
Yeah. And so those people come to our group, and sometimes they'll just ask in the group, like, "What do you think? My significant other that I think is a 2x2 is saying this. What do you guys think?" And people are literally like looking at their own relationships through the lens of the Ex-2x2 community now, which is really, really wild. And to see this constant, the story is the same every single time of like, well, I asked them about it, but they said this and that doesn't really match up. But there's enough X content out there now, and there's enough articles and enough stuff out there that you can piece it together pretty well.
Well, and so that the 2x2 that they're dating, being sneaky and secretive about it, is backfiring on them because it used to be that was the only source of information that they could get. And then, eventually they'd go to meeting and they'd be like, wow, these people are so welcoming because they're love bombing, and then and now instead of getting information from their partner because their partner's being kind of tight-lipped about it, they go online and they Google, and then everything they're saying is from the X community. Or they join our group in certain circumstances when we allow that.
Yeah. I don't know if this is reminded me of this anyway. Feels like a similar vein. But another thing I couldn't have anticipated is people reaching out and being like, hey, can I ask if you've heard anything about a certain person? Because I'm like talking to him. I'm thinking about dating him. I've been spending some time with him. My kids might be around him, for various things. I've had a lot of women come to me and be like, hey, can you vet this person for me? I just need to know if they're an abuser before I get into a relationship with them, inside and outside the church. Because in the X community is people who used to be in the church. So we have names from there too,
Or I'm going to this convention. Here's a list of all the speakers. Are any of them on it?
And I've had convention owners vet lists through me.
Yeah. But here's the thing is like, our list isn't comprehensive. There's no way we can know everyone who actually in reality has abused someone. So like, if you're not sure if where you're going is safe, maybe don't go there.
That's something that people don't seem to understand yet.
Well, exactly. Like people have literally contacted us and said, "Hey, I have to go to this convention. I'm trying to decide if I should go to this convention or something like that. Will there be any abusers there?" And it's like, first of all, we don't know everything. Second of all,
probably
yeah,
yes.
probably. They're not stopping it. Why wouldn't there be?
Especially considering how many abusers we know are being let back into meetings already. So like,
yeah.
And 3 years ago, our list had 0 people on it, and every single one of those people was at convention or meeting.
Yeah.
Every single one of those. How many are on your list now? 1,000? Like,
how many?
Well, yeah, our list is like over 600, but we know, you know, there's bigger lists out there, and they've got, the numbers are staggering.
Yeah, well, and people that are still going, it's like they have this idea that because where they're meeting, none of those people are named, they're good now. But like,
yeah,
they cannot learn that like there are more.
Yeah,
these people you were meeting with did feel safe. You found out they weren't. Now you're meeting with these people. You feel safe. You shouldn't.
That's a fascinating take. Is like, oh well, there's none in my area, so fine, no big deal. The one thing I wanted to point on regarding the people coming into our group and trying to find out more about the church that their significant other is a part of because they're not being told. Like our group members show up on those posts.
Yes.
Oh
and,
yeah.
You know, you would expect that in a group of X2x2s that it would just be like people saying, "Yo, you got to leave them," like, you know, run away. But then there's also, I mean, and there is that to some degree, and those are valid too. But there's also people being like, "Yeah, I was that professing person dating a non-professing person, and here's my experience." And those are really interesting takes.
I think that the community really feels like they can do something with those posts. A lot of the posts, like a lot of people looking for support, we're just being there for each other, giving input, whatever, experiencing this together. But then comes someone who's like, you feel like you can use your experience to help somebody right now in the real life, like understand in order to make good life choices. And that feels, I think it's very fulfilling for people in the group too.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of empathy in the X community. I think that there's always going to be this idea within the 2x2 community that the X community is the devil trying to tear them down. And it's like, not so much. I mean, there's more moral clarity about what should be done in the X community, that's for sure. But there's a lot of people who, you know, are inside and trying to look out and not sure what they want to do, and they come to us and talk to us. There's a lot of empathy for like, yes, we've all been there. We all had to go through this, and we all know that you're not just jumping to freedom when you leave. There's a lot of negative ramifications. There will be rifts in your family over it. There will be maybe immediate relationships, maybe even spouse relationships or dating or even with your kids. Those are going to go south, and that's not going to be fun. And nobody is going to just tell you to go do that. No one's telling you to cut contact with your family and friends. No one's telling you to do that. Right. Everyone is there to support you if that's what you choose, you know?
Yeah, so everyone in the X community has been through something.
Yep.
And it grows a lot of like empathy.
Yeah. I'm trying to decide what we want to talk about or how to talk about it.
Well, we can always cut something if it doesn't fly. But there's that guy that was like, when group chats were allowed, which they're not anymore, did he start it or he went into it or something? And he had suicidal and homicidal ideation. He was having like a mental health crisis, and it was towards workers, right?
Yeah. He was talking about going to conventions
and shooting.
Yeah. And he was talking about mass violence.
But he was and we contacted Mike. You did right?
I contacted the police and like had to like track down like his parents, I think, and try to figure all that out. And eventually like the police did make contact with him and help. I don't know what we never find out what the end result of any of that is, but
whether it was a well check or what. But that's another thing I wish that the 2x2, the insider 2x2 community understood is how much we have how much time and effort and like emotional input has been involved in protecting them
for their safety.
Yeah, for their safety. Like all of this is for their safety. Like the abusers that are still in meetings, that's not for the X's safety. That's for the people who are in meetings. That's for their safety. And like in this case,
the culture we grew up in, safer for the next generation.
Yep. Yeah. In this case, this person was threatening insider, and it was in an X space. And that was our responsibility to be like, yeah, I know we're all upset and we have to actually take action to make sure that you're not harming anybody in the group as much as you may be upset with it.
Right. And the juxtaposition of constantly at that point, this was in the middle of a lot of stuff coming out, and the overseers being pretty resolute in not doing anything about it and pushing back on any guidelines. And meanwhile, the X community is quite literally protecting a convention in this case from somebody who had bad intentions.
And to
Like
be
we
clear,
had to
not
step in.
he didn't name a specific.
No, he
convention.
didn't. He didn't name anything specific or whatever. But he was just saying some stuff that he shouldn't have been saying, and we had to get law enforcement involved. And it's like that stuff goes on behind that stuff. That type of thing does not go on behind the scenes very often. That was a one-off thing. But,
as we were actively being villainized.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, exactly. It's like the workers are going up talking about how the devil has caused a storm or whatever. And it's like, we're protecting you from you in a lot of different ways. We're protecting you from you and other people.
In ways that, by the way, leadership has never done, even for the children in their own congregation.
No. And there would probably be some negative spin on the other stuff. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of note that, not to like toot our own horn in that, but I know that a lot of people in the X community broadly are working really hard, putting in tons and tons of time to help people in ways that will never see the light of day. No one will ever know, and would probably be dismissed if people did know. So
one thing that I thought of that I didn't put on here, so maybe I should just say it, but in kind of earlier on when we were talking to a lot of people and trying to advocate with leadership, trying to get people out and everything. Something that was not on my lifetime bingo card was emailing with current workers and even overseers in some cases. And like even having current workers ask me, hey, can I ask you about somebody on my staff?
Yep.
I felt uncomfortable with them.
And have that turn out to actually, they did have,
and I was like, yeah, your instinct is right. I mean, you've probably learned to run over it. You clearly have, because you're only asking me this now, but like your instinct is right. And and then the one that blew my mind, I was emailing with some kind of troublemaker workers about this one guy. You know, they were more outspoken. They were on CCF and stuff. And I included their overseer in the emails, and they were kind of pushing him to do the right thing. And then I was like, should I put out, are you going to, what I said is, are you going to put out a notice about this guy, or should I? And the worker was like, yeah, thanks, Abby, go for it. The worker's no longer a worker, but like,
I think you can use names on that one. Jared Snyder. And
he is the bomb. But yeah, for him to, I think he was fed up at that point with trying to push Jim Holt toward doing the right thing. And that's, I felt like I was a little bit snarky, a little bit pushy, and I can't believe that I'm talking this way to overseers. First of all, are you going to put out a notification, or should I? And then Jared's like, yep, go ahead. Thanks, Abby. I was like, what just happened? Oh,
crazy stuff. Like,
yeah, I mean, every single thing we've talked about, every bullet point in this conversation is something that if you told I think either of us 5 years ago, even though, 5+ years ago or 6 years ago, we were in and you were out. If you'd have told us any of this stuff, one of those items would have been like, what led to that? And it's the type of stuff that we talk about all the time, because we have a chat where we're talking constantly all day long. And every once in a while, one of us will bring one of these things up and the other one will be like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. It's just weird, oddball stuff that's happened from running the group.
Forgot or repressed.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that people would just be mailing us worker lists and study lists and worker photos and stuff? That's another thing. I'm like, I don't want this, but yes, thank you for sending. I mean, I do want it, but I don't want it. I did, my whole corner over here is like piled with papers that I'm still trying to like scan in and organize. But that's another thing I could never have anticipated, trying to like document and make databases for all of this. So yes, worker lists, worker photos, sermons that are legible, not in like, 1960s cursive. I do want, just so if you're watching this,
by the way, I'm good at reading 1960s cursive. So
okay, send those ones to Kari.
I work on my ancestry stuff a lot, and it's all in like 1860s cursive. So
okay, everybody can send those ones to you.
I just want to point out, though, that is another thing the X community is doing because the church doesn't. They don't document their own history. It's so crazy. In fact, they purposely have covered it up. So the X community is doing it because we have to have a history of like where we came from. It's crazy not to do that.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like a lot of these things aren't something that's going to be used as like some kind of gotcha. It's just, I mean, some of it might, but a lot of the photos and stuff, I'm like,
where a certain work has been,
Yeah. Well, a lot of the photos, like, I don't even know who they are necessarily, and they're not even necessarily group worker photos, but I have these photo albums of pictures, like, I don't know who they are, I never will, and I can't throw them away. This is 2x2 history. This is,
Yeah,
like,
Yes.
these are
yeah,
really old photos of all kinds of people that, like, I feel
At
a little bit of
least
responsibility given how.
if you had a website or a Facebook page or something where you could throw all those pictures up and people could just come in and comment on like who they are,
That'd be
you would
cool.
know pretty quickly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that might be in the future. Who
That would
knows?
be really neat,
Yeah,
actually.
so
When I get fired up to do it again, I've really burnt out on, like,
yeah,
I bet.
gestures wildly. Um,
yeah.
and yeah,
No,
I've been, as you can probably see, I'm not even necessarily in the chat participating every day, like, unless there's something I should participate in. But I'm like, I burnt out pretty hard, which isn't surprising. And I'm counting on the fact that it'll pick up again and I'll get back to this pile in my corner and TikToks and stuff.
yeah, I think we've all burned out on it a few times. Probably every once in a while, each of us kind of goes through this, like, I can't deal with this stuff anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just for all of the above stated reasons. And the fact that, like, you know, however many years ago, we're getting close to the anniversary of the group, I think, this month.
Yep.
Was it 4 years?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
wow.
4 years ago, we started a group kind of as a fun little side project. And we didn't have a group
Crazy.
chat at first, I remember. Like, the four of us, we just
Yeah,
kind of had this.
that came about because of Brewergate, really.
Kind of, yeah.
Or no,
Well,
it was
it was
before.
before
It was there, but it was not nearly as active.
Yeah, but to go from just kind of like a fun little side project that we thought would be helpful because it was something we didn't have, to being, you know, contacted by workers and overseers and media and people vetting dating partners and everything else has just been bananas.
And over 6,000 group members. That's a
Yeah.
lot.
And then Mike and I now having side projects that are fairly kind of tie our identity to the X2x2 community in a fairly tangible way. That's something I never wanted to do either, but then it's just like it kind of naturally happened and it's like, yeah, we'll just do this. It's kind of
Yeah.
naturally.
It was like
No, go ahead, Mike.
talking. Yeah, both of our projects talking publicly, like, in that way it's still nerve-wracking. Like, it never, like, totally goes away, although it gets easier, I think, especially when you have something like in the case of Beyond Religion, you have these stories of people's lives that are associated to this church that are just so fascinating and just so it's
Yeah, I
it
mean, like,
makes
you're
it
hardly making content. You're helping.
yeah, I'm letting
You're
other people
helping
make
people
my
tell their
content.
stories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
That's so
but Kyle's go ahead.
I was just going to say that's a really powerful thing to do, though, because everybody who uses their voice and shares their story makes a difference. Like, adds to the collective voice. Like, all of us collectively especially in the X community, because we realize and acknowledge that this happened to us. Our voices were taken away from us as 2x2s, and that is still happening to current 2x2s, whether they realize it or not.
Yep.
And so, creating an environment or facilitating a place for people to come and use their voice and share their story, and the more collective stories there are out there about the 2x2s, the more you can Google, the more you can hear. It's just like really powerful, you know?
Yeah, and there's a domino effect of like when somebody hears it, they're like, okay, yeah, me too.
Right.
And you know, I remember during the height of Brewergate, or sometime around then, you were using a hashtag like
me 2x2,
me 2x2, because it just made sense. Like, so many people were like, yes, that happened to me too, but I never knew that. I never knew that was a thing. I thought I was the oddball. I thought I had a bad spirit or whatever. And now it's like you're finding out everyone has a story. Everybody has an interesting story. Everyone.
Yeah.
They really do, and they don't even realize it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the number of, I want to say this on behalf of our support group specifically, the number of people, because our support group doesn't see these messages that we get, the four of us get, the number of people who've reached out and said, your group has saved my life. Like, very specifically, that's not just because of us four. That's because of the whole group, the culture, the supportive. We were talking about all the comments people get that are supportive and nuanced and like empathetic, and that's our group that has done that for people. That's a big thing. That's a big deal.
We've had people reach out and say, like, the stuff that's out there has helped them with a lot of different things, like life altering things. And we realize later they're not in our group.
Yeah.
They're not actually in the group. They're not benefiting from anything we're doing directly. It's just that the people who are all speaking out, like through your interviews and through all these other side projects people have, all the Substacks, all the different content that's out there, and people who have gone out and like spoken at the Cult conference, the Cult in New Zealand, talked to the media, done the documentaries. So many people are speaking that people are getting benefits from it. And sometimes we get to hear about it and we realize they didn't even get it from us. They got it through this chain reaction of like so many people opening up. And that's very gratifying to me. It makes
we had somebody recently that was like, you guys can't possibly give all this support. And we're like, you're right. We're not giving all the support. Like, none of us are trained. We went through a trial of fire, but none of us have been professionally trained. We learned, like, in crisis how to be as trauma informed as we can. And we've talked to a lot of people, but as far as the group, like, functioning as it does every day and helping people, that's not us. Like, that is 6,000 people being there for each other. We are just like providing the space for it, trying to make sure that everybody's like coming there with the right spirit. But like, that's not, we have not ever been and will never claim to be like therapists or like professional coordinators. We just run a Facebook group, guys. Like, it is all the people in our group that are saving lives and making huge impacts on the world.
Yeah, and a lot of the people like in the CCF crowd too, who were trying to make inroads and changes on the inside, and it didn't really work. That's a whole huge community that we're not even directly involved with. That, in their own way, has helped people too. I want to give credit to those people.
Oh
too.
yeah, it's definitely not
now because they have to be. You can't make change from the inside, but there's a lot of people putting in so much work.
A lot of people tried so hard to push change inside.
And and this is why I keep doing it, and people are probably tired of me saying it, but this is why I share media files. This is why I encourage people's projects and offer to help them with their projects sometimes, because it's like, there's a very tangible benefit to this stuff. This isn't just us talking. It's not just us complaining to a therapist that we were wronged or something. This is the tangible benefit. Well, we do that too. I actually do that. I complain a lot. But the tangible benefit is, sometimes the reason we want to bring it up in this thing is not to make it sound like we're doing something. The reason I want to bring it up is that sometimes we get the positive feedback that maybe not everybody gets because they just know us.
Yeah, that's why I brought that up too.
Exactly.
Like, I'm speaking on behalf of the group. Like, those kinds of messages are really something our entire group needs to know.
Like, sometimes people in these communities maybe don't even hear the positive feedback because it's people who don't want to speak publicly, don't want to work through that stuff in a public way, but they're benefiting from all of the work that everybody's putting in and everyone being open to it and stuff. So
and it's definitely not just our group.
Yeah, it's saving lives. It's literally saving people's lives. It's getting them better quality of lives. It's improving people's relationships. And another thing we often hear is people saying, hey, my relationship, even with my professing family, has improved because we've talked to them. We've opened up communication. I've gone and I've reconciled with my kids. We've heard that. I've gone back and talked to my parents. We've heard that. All of this stuff, all the work that everybody's putting out there, this is why I encourage it so much, is because it has a very tangible effect. Sometimes it's not tangible in the sense that we can all see it all the time, because a lot of it's in private, but it is helping. So
yeah. Hearing about people getting relationships back with their family, I've said this for the last few years, has been like maybe the biggest, most fulfilling thing for me to hear. People who are queer in some way and their families disowned them and then they got them back. People who are survivors and their families, wrote them off. And then after this, they're like, oh, like, I'm really sorry. That was the wrong thing to do. I believe you. Their families believed them for the first time. Or just people who left and their families didn't understand until their families started seeing all this. And I feel like we got a tiny measure maybe of a little bit of that. But like, I think a lot of exes are getting a tiny hint of understanding from many of their families now. Just like, exposing the problem has made people go, oh, maybe it isn't perfect. And I guess I understand a little bit why you would have a problem.
And a lot of people, that hasn't happened for, which is a bummer too. But one thing that on a personal level, this whole Brewergate thing did, if there is a silver lining to be found, which of course, none of the abuse is worth a silver lining. That it's all a horrible thing that happened. But I will say a lot of us left in the X community left with this feeling that we were somehow beneath the 2x2s and we weren't as good as the 2x2s. And so we couldn't challenge them, or it was harder to set boundaries when we left. Like, a lot of us would just continue kind of going along with 2x2 things when we were around family because it, you feel like you're lesser than, and that they have some revelation or something over you that you don't have, is how they see it. That playing field has been leveled. Like, if there's anything that you take away from this on a personal level, even if it hasn't fixed your family relationships or whatever, know that you are good enough. Like, you don't have to keep comparing yourself to the 2x2s. They don't have anything special that you don't have. They're not better people on any measure than you are. Like, that has been laid to rest permanently.
Yeah.
Gay stuff.
Yeah. When I went to my mom's funeral, this was in January of 2024. And so this was not even 1 year in. And I mean, I've said this before, but like I only talked to her a couple times after it all broke, and they were not good conversations. They were not like healthy conversations. I came away broken from those conversations. And then they discovered very aggressive cancer in November, and she died early January. And I hadn't talked to her in that time. And like there's a lot there, but going into a professing funeral with all of those things on a convention grounds in January of 2024 was terrifying. And terrifying in one respect, and also, I don't know, like I think I had felt I'd learned at that point a little bit of that, like I don't need to cower, but like I don't know what I'm walking into as far as if people will even say hi to me or not. Some of them ducked out of the receiving line before they shook our hands. They didn't want anything to do with us. Some professing people leaned in and said thank you. So both sides of the spectrum. But Terry Wells had part of the funeral, and he had we had learned lots about him being pretty awful in this crisis. No allegations that I'm aware of, but definitely pretty bad rhetoric and enabling. And I was not happy about him speaking there. And I had a couple mantras going in, and one of them was, they do not hold the moral high ground. And when I felt myself shrinking as he was speaking, I reminded myself he doesn't have the moral high ground. And I sat up and I stared at his head, and he didn't look at me the rest of the time. Until he came over and forced us to shake his hand while we were still sitting down. But that really did help. The empowerment of that last year had really changed that. I think if I had gone to that funeral 2 years before, it would have been a much more minimizing, belittling, fearful experience, where it was just it wasn't fun. But that did really help me to realize they don't hold the moral high ground anymore, and they never have. Mm-hmm. That was a long way of saying, I agree with you.
Amen. Amen.
Well, that was actually a perfect example.
I had a lot to add.